I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I need to get this out of the way. This is not going to be a fashion season. Hi everyone, welcome back. The Bachelorette Katie Thurston, night 1. Let's talk about it. We have finally made it through the Bachelor hiatus and this reality show is back. And I'm happy to be back. Feels good. Like always, if you're enjoying my reviews, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. Still a new YouTuber and I'm trying to grow my channel, and the likes and subscribes really help me out. Okay, so I do need to go over a few things, especially for those of you that are new to my channel. First, this is not a spoiler YouTube page. I am reviewing the show as it airs, and if I hear about any spoilers, I'm not gonna mention it on these reviews. Next, my reviews are based solely from what I'm seeing on the show. I do not consider outside gossip and outside forces when I'm doing these reviews. The only time I do is if it reaches a boiling point to where I have to talk about it, like all of the drama surrounding Rachel last season. Next, if I say there is no connection between Katie and one of the guys, it does not mean that guy is not hot, sexy, smart, or worthy of love. It just means that from what I'm seeing on my television screen, I'm just not seeing a connection between that guy and Katie. Again, it is not a personal attack on their character. I just don't see a connection. And last thing, if you watched my reviews last season, you all know that I am not a huge fan of Katie, but I will give her a chance and I will be fair. But if she does things I do not like, I will call it out. Now, I will waste no more time. Let's dive in and review the episode. And yes, if you were wondering, I am no longer filming from the spare room at my dad's house anymore. I'm filming from my apartment. Once I got the apartment all straightened up and I got my furniture, I will give you a tour, so be on the lookout for that. So the episode starts off with Katie in Seattle learning she's the Bachelorette, and they just go over some of her background story. There wasn't really anything interesting here, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I need to get this out of the way. This is not going to be a fashion season. So I know most of y'all hated Matt's season, but the one good thing about Matt's season was they delivered us a lot of fashion, and I'm pretty sure we're not gonna get that this season. Katie served us multiple looks in this intro, and I didn't like any of them. She dresses like a boy. And for all you Katie stans, I swear this is the harshest I'm gonna be on her in this review. In this first look, I don't like it. She looks like Heath Ledger in Brokeback Mountain. Katie also has a thing for oversized Bill Cosby sweaters. And then in this last look, she wears an oversized flannel shirt. Like, I'm sorry, y'all, she dresses like a boy. And if you all are new to my channel, y'all know one of my favorite points of this show is the glamour and the extra girly outfits. So when you're on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, this is pretty much one of the only spaces where you could wear a cocktail dress or a ball gown pretty much every day and it's completely acceptable. I'm one of those people where I watch this show, I want to feel like I'm in a super girly, super feminine fairy tale fantasy world, and we're not really getting that. Anyways, moving on. So Katie is getting ready to meet the guys and then enters Kaitlyn Bristowe and Tayshia Adams to help her out through this. Now, Tayshia and Kaitlyn's entrance in that old school car was A1. I loved it. Also, Kaitlyn and Tayshia did an amazing job as hosts, but I do have one read. So Chris Harrison is on a break or whatever, but when he was on the show, he was like an older father type of figure. And I kind of feel like they should have chosen an older woman who's more of like a mother type of figure. And so far on the internet, a lot of people want to see Tayshia and Kaitlyn continue in this role, but Tayshia wants to have kids eventually, and I don't know if Kaitlyn does either, but I think it would be kind of hard to stay in this role if you want to like start a family. Because normally on this show, they do a lot of traveling. As of right now, we don't know if they're going to go back to that. But this is just a personal preference. I prefer to see one or two consistent hosts. I would prefer not to have them like rotate hosts all the time in the future. It's that time, outfit of the episode. For this week's outfit of the episode, I am giving it to Tayshia Adams. I love this black dress she's wearing, and it's slightly ruffled on the side. It is so cute. It's a little plain, but still cute. Now, some of you may be wondering why I did not give the outfit of the episode to Katie. Well, Katie's dress was a choice.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
Like, she really wore an orange dress for her first impression dress. And for those of you who are about to drag me in the comments, I didn't say it. Elwood said it. So now they go into a few short intros of the guys. I just want to mention a couple of these. The first one I want to talk about is Conor B. I know it's early, but I'm in love with him. But at the same time, I'm still dealing with trust issues from the last musician from Nashville. But sometimes you just gotta take a chance with love. I'm not gonna think about Jen, and I'm gonna open up my heart to Conor B, and we'll see how this goes. Conor B is a middle school math teacher, and he's also a musician, and he plays the guitar really well. It definitely touched my heartstrings. And next we have Karl. I think Karl is possibly not here for the right reasons. I don't wanna jump in and say that though. During his intro, he said all of his other family members have kids and are starting families, and he feels left out. So basically he's saying he feels like his clock is ticking, and I just don't like that. I'd rather him want to be there because he's super into Katie, not because he just feels like his clock is ticking. Next, Tayshia and Kaitlyn sneak up on Katie and let her know that they're there to help her through the process. Now, this part was just so fake. Did y'all hear the inflection in Katie's voice? Oh my god, I'm so happy you're here! I can't even do it. My voice doesn't go that high. Like, that was all acting. And like, she doesn't know these two girls. She honestly probably met them an hour ago. So Kaitlyn, Tayshia, and Katie all sit down for a quick chat. Not much really happens here, but Kaitlyn does ask, what is your type and what do you envision in a guy? So Katie responds and says nothing appearance-wise, it's all about the personality. Now, I personally thought that was a little weird. It may be because I'm a guy. When people say that, I do think they're lying to themselves. Like, so you would date the creature from the Blue Lagoon as long as he had a great personality? So after that, Katie says she needs a man who's okay with her being confident, talking about sex, and being open. So I didn't like that just because I'm like, out of all the things you could have said you wanted in a man, you start with that. So yes, I do agree that talking about sex is important, but when Kaitlyn Bristow, who you probably met an hour ago, is asking, what do you look for in a man? I don't think that should be on the top of your list. I think there are more important things than that. Okay, so now we're going into the first impressions. And before we start, I do want to mention one thing. The guys this season are very young. Most of them are in their mid to late 20s, and only 6 of the guys are 30 or over, and at least one of the 30-year-olds already got eliminated. Now, Katie is 30 years old, and there is nothing wrong with an older woman being with a younger man, but Katie says she wants a grown man, and that's definitely going to be tougher to find given the majority of this age range of guys. Now, I do want to unpack this real quick. Some of y'all probably just want to completely blame production, but it's not entirely their fault. So to be able to film for this show, you have to be able to leave your job for 8 to 12 weeks, and it's possibly longer now because of the quarantine time, and I feel like the average person cannot leave their job for that amount of time. Now, I do feel like there should be more guys between 35 and maybe like 43, but the problem is most guys between 35 and 43 cannot just uproot their life for 8 to 12 weeks just to go on a reality show. Most of them probably have responsibilities. Like, if I told my boss I was leaving for 2 months to film a reality show, there's a good chance I may not have a job when I return. Also, ABC probably gets 10 times more applications from guys in their 20s than they do guys between the ages of 35 and 43. So it's very much ABC just has to work with what they got. Okay, now let's go into the first impressions. I'm not going to talk about all the first impressions. I'm just going to talk about the ones that I found interesting. It's just way too many to go over all of them. The first one I want to talk about is Thomas. Thomas came in hot. He is absolutely gorgeous. Literally all of Twitter was thirsting over Greg, and I didn't understand why when Thomas is in the room. Thomas's intro was pretty boring. He just introduced himself and gave a short speech. The speech was kind of corny, and honestly, Katie didn't really seem like she was feeling it. Next is Michael. To me, this was the most creative one. He gives her a watch and says it's been in his family for 200 years. And then he's like, JK, I'm not some weirdo. I just picked this up from the airport. I thought that was absolutely adorable. I ate it up. Next is Marty. His outfit was just really ugly, and later on he gets eliminated, and I was not surprised about that, especially in that outfit. Next is Trey. First of all, I love the name Trey, and for his entrance, he pulls up in a pickup truck with balls from like a playhouse in the back. I really like this one because it was just super fun and super creative. Next, we have Andrew S. He pulls up in an old school car and then introduces himself to Katie with a fake British accent. And later on, he says, "Never mind, I'm from Chicago." I like Andrews because out of everyone, he seemed to put the most effort into his first impression. Next, we have Conor C. Conor C gives Katie a baseball glove and says, "If I'm catching feelings, why not bring a glove?" I thought that was cute. I completely ate it up. Next is Hunter. Hunter brings Katie a fake fish and then says he's trying to be a catch or something. This was probably the worst one. It's just not a good intro and it's not creative. If y'all remember last season, there was a huge fish sitting next to Katie's vibrator as Matt gave a prayer over the whole group. Never forget. Next is the box, which we later find out to be James. James arrives in a gift box and he says, "I wanted to make sure I'm present for you tonight." And he says, "Don't open me until we get into the house." And then he makes a deal with Katie that she cannot open the box until she's inside. Now, this was an absolutely horrible idea. If you ever go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, do not do this. Normally, night one is a complete circus and there are so many people fighting for the lead's attention that it is very easy for the lead to forget about you, especially if you're in a box. Luckily, Katie ended up opening the box and finally meeting him, but for a second there, I didn't even think he was going to get the first impression. Also, the box got a confessional and I literally died at that part. I thought it was so funny. Next is Cody. He brought a blow-up doll. I absolutely hated this, but I knew someone would bring a sex toy, seeing as Katie did her first impression with a sex toy. This was a smart move because it shows that he did his homework, but I will say you do have a huge risk of people viewing you as weird because I wouldn't put a vibrator on the same level as a sex doll. But it worked. Katie thought it was funny. Next is Christian. I love his Boston accent. I just love New York, Jersey, Boston accent. So he really stood out to me. And lastly is Quartney. Quartney's name is ghetto. I'm sorry, y'all, call a spade a spade. It's a little ghetto. And also his suit looked a little cheap. The first one-on-one is with Andrew S. I'm getting like friend vibes here. I'm not really seeing a connection, but also Katie is very much a bro, so it's kind of hard to tell if it's a connection or if it's just friend vibes. But I'm gonna keep watching the show. I'm sure in time we'll be able to tell. Next, we have a one-on-one with Thomas. Again, I think Thomas is absolutely gorgeous, but I don't think Katie is feeling him that much. Also, the edit Thomas is getting makes it seem like he's gonna go far, but I don't think he's gonna win. Next, we have a one-on-one with Greg. Greg gives Katie a pasta shell necklace made by one of his nieces, and he tells her that family is really important to him. So the internet was completely gagging over Greg. He's not really my tea. Like, he's cute, but he was tripping over his words too much, and I prefer a guy to be a little more confident. But don't get me wrong, I can see why y'all like him. Also, his whole aesthetic and his haircut gave me 90s sitcom vibes. I felt like I could see him on Home Improvement or Boy Meets World, or maybe even Dawson's Creek. Next, we have a one-on-one with Trey. They go into the truck with all the Playhouse balls and they sip some champagne. I thought that was really cute. Loved it. I don't think he's gonna win though. Katie seems to be feeling other guys more than she's feeling him. Next, we have a one-on-one with Justin. He painted Katie this gorgeous portrait of roses, but then he goes in for a kiss, and to go in for it, he moves this pillow and he's like, "Let me move this pillow around real quick," and goes in for the kiss, and that was just so corny. I hated that. Next, we have Karl. Karl gives Katie this like board game map with both of them on it. Katie loved it, but it was too cheesy for me. Next, we have Jeff. Jeff brings Katie to the RV and shows her the inside of the RV. The RV is in need of a serious update. It looks like it came straight from like the late 1980s. This was just a little too low budget for a first impression. Also, you really gotta have a certain personality to be able to pull this off. I feel like Dean could maybe pull this off, but also I feel like Dean would have cleaned up the inside of the RV in a way to make it more appealing for Katie. Like, I feel like if he had decked out the inside with like a "I love Katie" sign and put a ton of daisies everywhere or something, you know, if he had just made it more personal to Katie, I feel like he could have pulled this off. But to just show her like the rundown inside of an RV, that just ain't it. And I do feel like this could have worked, but you really have to have the personality and a certain level of creativity to pull it off. Next, we go to a scene with Aaron and Cody. Aaron is saying he does not like Cody, and he's like, it's not my fault that I don't like you. Honestly, I don't even know why ABC even included this, but I'm getting the vibe that Aaron is going to be the villain of the season. This is completely out of the blue. Like, we have no idea why they're having this scuffle. Also, I really like Aaron's tattoo. He has this small tattoo behind his ear, and it's very edgy, but also subtle. On this show, most of the guys tend to be very clean cut, so you do not see a lot of tattoos. But I do like the way he put it behind his ear to make it a little more subtle. Next, we have a one-on-one with Conor B. Conor B gives Katie cat ears and a couple mittens, and they play this foot piano together, and this was absolutely adorable. I loved it. Katie tells Conor that he did a good job. Anyone that comes in with a cat pun or a cat costume knows what he's doing. Now, I don't really get it because I'm a dog person. Say hi to the camera, Rose. Say hi. Now, Katie and Conor definitely have a connection, and she ends up kissing him. Now, this was a choice. I say this was a choice because we do not kiss men in cat costumes unless it's Halloween and we've had one too many White Claws. I personally think she should have saved that kiss for later. And lastly, we have a one-on-one with Michael A. So Michael and Katie both connect because they both have cats named Tommy. Michael also has a 4-year-old son, and he mentions that he gets to FaceTime with him every day. I was kind of shocked because I thought they'd take away their phones in this process, and from previous seasons, I don't think they get pretty much any contact with family, but I guess production is kind of loosening up and giving exceptions for parents. So I really like this one-on-one between Katie and Michael. Michael is clearly here on this show to find someone to settle down with. This is probably the most serious conversation we've had all episode, and he's signaling to Katie that he's very serious. Like, this vibe that we are getting from Michael is what Katie needs in a partner, but I don't know if Katie necessarily likes him. It's kind of too early to tell. And when they're talking, Michael asks Katie if she's open to kids, and Katie says, for me, I definitely want kids in some way, I think. You know, whether it's someone who already has a child, that's something I'm fine with. If someone doesn't want children, I think I'm fine with that. I'm open to all scenarios. Now, I really want to know what y'all thought of this. Please let me know below in the comments. This response to me was very weird. It very much felt like to me, like Michael was asking if you want pizza or Chinese for dinner, and Katie was like, oh, I'll take pizza or Chinese, it don't matter. So this is just my personal opinion. If you want to have a kid, I feel like you need to be enthusiastic about it because having a kid is a huge commitment. It's not something you do on a whim. And the fact that Katie was like, I'm open to whatever, it just didn't sit right with me. So after all the one-on-ones, Katie grabs the first impression rose and gives it to Greg. And y'all really be wondering why Katie's not my favorite. She really gave Greg the first impression rose over Conor. Conor deserved that rose. And I will say I was surprised that Conor didn't get it. And last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this review, we need to discuss the bad haircuts. There were multiple guys from this episode who needed a haircut. Like, are there no barbers nearby the Hyatt Regency Tamaya? David, Brandon, Marcus, Jeff, Greg, Brendan, and Landon, they all needed haircuts. And this is right from the jump of the season. Hopefully later in the season they can find a barber and pull it together because those looks were not it. And that is the end of the episode and all I have for you today. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode and I'm so happy The Bachelorette is back. Now, I don't know if Katie is gonna find her everlasting love. At multiple points, I kind of felt like she herself is unsure of what she wanted, especially when she said she doesn't care about appearance and then she was kind of wishy-washy about having kids. It made me feel like she wasn't completely sure, but I will be rooting for her in finding love. And last thing before I go, if you're new to my channel, normally I put these reviews out the day after the show. I do not have a specific time to get it out. I just try to get it out as soon as I can. Keep in mind, I do have a day job, so sometimes I get the videos out kind of late. I will try to get these reviews out to you as soon as I can, but keep in mind, I do like to put out a quality product, so sometimes it does take me a little bit of time. If you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Again, I am a growing YouTuber here, and the likes and subscribes really help me out. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.